Hey everybody, Todd Mitchell here. Welcome back to Game Dev Breakdown. We are back a little bit early this week because we get to talk to Susanna Pollack, the president of Games for Change. We will hear about the festival, its background, and how you can get involved this year if you would like to attend virtually. Give it a listen. You'll find out everything you need to know, and enjoy. Awesome. Well, let's get started. Susanna, good morning. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Susanna Pollack, and I'm president of Games for Change.
And the Games for Change Festival will be underway when we release this podcast. What number year is this? How many years has Games for Change been going on?
We will be holding our 18th annual Games for Change Festival from July 12th to the 14th.
Very cool. And this is an online year number 2 now, right?
Yeah, it's our second time running a virtual event. I'd like to say it became easier the second time round, but I'd be lying. There are a lot of unknown things that pop up when you're running something virtually and online, but the reward is just tremendous. We found when we ran our event virtually for the first time last year that our audience grew almost 7 times.
Wow.
We went from like what was a 1,000-person event, like very respectable numbers. It's like, a great in-person event that happens in New York City and people come from all over. But when we ran it virtually, we also made a decision to make it free. We were able to do that because of wonderful sponsors that we have. And we had nearly 7,000 people attend from 81 countries.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So this will be another free year, is that right?
Yeah, so we're doing it again free. We have to figure out what the model is going ahead because we want to have some kind of in-person event too. There's something very special about seeing people and the kind of relationships that can develop in an in-person event. But I don't think we will ever move away from having some sort of free online event that's attached to the festival.
Very cool. I've talked to a lot of event organizers over the last year who I think everyone's in that mode right now. Everyone's determining how they move forward as everybody wants to go back to in-person on both sides, organizers and attendees. But everyone also seems to want to keep this online momentum going. And I think that's great. Not everybody gets to go everywhere they would like to. And I hope you're able to do that. That would be great.
Yeah. What also ended up stemming out of this is that we put new emphasis on our global chapters. So we've had chapters at Games for Change in other countries before, in Europe and in Latin America. And we've tried in other countries on and off over our nearly 20-year existence, but we have new enthusiasm to hold local events in different countries. And so we will be hosting or partnering with people on the ground in Australia and Melbourne to host an event, also in Latin America where we'll be active, and also in Africa. So those will be other ways in which people can experience the content and develop community around the world.
I wish everybody got to do that. All of the big industry events, that would be outstanding if we were able to take more events to more people. I think that's great. So let's talk about the overall mission of Games for Change for anyone not familiar yet.
Yeah, sure. So we are a not-for-profit. And as I said, we've been around for almost 20 years, and we were created with the belief that video games can have a power beyond entertainment. There's this what has grown into be a ubiquitous form of media that is now in literally everyone's hands because of cell phones, but and other ways to engage with it, and that there are unique affordances around video games that lend themselves really well to be drivers of social impact. So we've been building a community of practice for many years, bringing in different stakeholders into the space, whether they are coming to this as a game developer, but also from the not-for-profit and foundation side, the healthcare sector, the education sector, policy, educators. So that's what's really special about the Games for Change event itself, is that it's attended by so many different kind of industries, and just what's just general about the makeup of the community at large. So in addition to the festival, we have other programs we run year round that also is created to help bring more people into this space.
Mm-hmm. And it's got to be tough to balance the programming and the experience for people from that many industries and walks of life. I know, game developers, players, policymakers. I mean, how do you sort of balance what you offer and what you sort of aim to do with your events across those disciplines?
Well, the G4C Festival in particular is, it is designed to be a hub to bring all these different sectors together. So when we create a programming strategy, from the beginning, we think about the different audiences and what their interests might be. Then we can program along those lines to help direct people what to attend and what to focus on. So we have a Games for Learning track that clearly speaks to educators and academia. We also have a track on health and wellness. And so that's a growing sector of how games and XR are being used for digital therapies and wellness. And then civic and social issues, which is kind of like this broad bucket of, how games and XR can be used to drive awareness around social issues, reach audiences that are otherwise hard to reach, help with training, community building, and the such. So that helps audiences to figure out what they want to pay attention to. But the beauty of it is that, you can cross-pollinate, and we are hoping the people who are working in education goes to a health and wellness center session and things like that. But so many people come to us as their first stop in this journey, of thinking that they want to use a game. They think they understand there's an opportunity there. They're not exactly sure what to do. And so they come to the Games for Change Festival, and we give, enough like thought leadership, high level conversations about how games can be used for different social impact goals. But then we also have more of a deep dive into, some of the more strategic examples or best practices in this space. So there really is something for everyone.
And this has been going on long enough now that I'm sure you probably feel like as soon as you really sort of gain some momentum, the technology changes, the issues change. Is that hard to keep up with?
I would say it's not hard to keep up with, but what makes it all exciting, right? We try to stay at the cutting edge of all of that. In many ways, just the fact that games is being used for social impact is cutting edge, right? Like it's already kind of on the forefront of impact, right? And you think about impact. We're not a technology event. We're not an event that's talking about the latest tech, but we are an event that is bringing together this media and technology with impact. So we do try to think about where the trends are going. And that's why we launched XR for Change 4 years ago. Well, we saw that with the emergence of virtual reality, once again, we saw a couple of things happen. We saw game developers starting to create content using these new platforms as there are new markets to explore. And then we also saw the not-for-profits and the foundations and the impact organizations curious about how they can use this new form of media, particularly as in virtual reality, there was a lot of conversation about empathy building and how it really allows people to have insights and experiences that they wouldn't otherwise have. So we felt that it was a good place for us to develop, bringing these conversations together very much the way we did with games over the past, prior 15 years, and now build that community around VR. And that changed into XR for Change. So first it was VR for Change, and then we realized this technology is growing. It's not just virtual reality, it's augmented reality too, it's mixed reality too. And that's where the kind of umbrella brand of XR comes in. And we will continue to investigate and present new opportunities like that.
I guess we should talk about the big focus for this year, since we're kind of getting into that direction already. What are the key elements of this year's festival?
Well, we've all collectively shared, unprecedented 15 months. Well, in the case of Games for Change Festival, a year since the last event. But it's also been like a tremendous time for the games industry, right? We've seen tremendous growth in the sector itself as more and more people turn to games as ways to deal with isolation and to connect with friends and loved ones, to help with mental stress. Like, a lot of people are playing games. And I think that the conversation around games has shifted too, in terms of a better understanding about how games can play a more positive role in our lives. And so at the Games for Change Festival, we really want to build on the positive opportunities and growth that's come out of the last year. And while there are sessions going to be about like what we learned in remote education from the pandemic and things like that, it's really, I think, a more uplifting and kind of positive vision of where we see this industry heading, or this games and impact and VR and impact is heading. So we do have wonderful sessions that are about innovative use of this technology and this medium, but we also have focused in on helping provide a platform for new voices and marginalized voices. And I think that's also something we saw, right, over the past year with Black Lives Matter and APIA issues that have come up and continued LGBTQ. So we've always seen Games for Change as being a platform for diverse voices. We really put an emphasis on that. And we have a spotlight series on Indigenous creators and the role and the importance of using games to tell Indigenous stories and Indigenous creators being part of the gaming ecosystem. We have focused on APIA and a lot of conversation around BIPOC creators as well. So I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm. How do you measure success for something like this? I mean, are there direct things you can look at and go, we accomplished this, or do you sort of try to keep tabs on the industry and these issues in general?
That's a good question. I mean, very straightforwardly, one level of success is how many people come and join the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Like how many people are coming to the festival. And we do record everything and put all of our sessions out as individual sessions on YouTube. And that's something that's live, forever. So people come back and visit that. We also look to get certain media, coverage, because that helps just raise awareness around games itself. I mean, a lot of our success is about our speakers' success and the games that are being presented, right? So very much, the coverage that we receive from media, it's about this neuroscientist's research that he's doing at his games lab, about a game that treats ADHD. If Games for Change is mentioned because because he spoke at our festival, that's great. But the success is the exposure that these great projects have, because that way it lifts up the community at large and becomes more people on the public side become more familiar and understanding what the potential for these games can be. So we really see ourselves as part of this big ecosystem. And Games for Change is really exists to help raise it, one, to help create the ecosystem, which is very much what we were doing at the beginning of our when we were founded, and now it's to elevate and grow this ecosystem. So if there's a game that was in a prototype or a beta that came to our festival, and we gave somebody a platform to talk about the research behind it, and he meets an investor at our festival because we have a whole Meet the Funders session, and they met a funder and they got money, or they got a grant from the National Science Foundation, and the game gets released in a year. Like, that's a big success story because they found those opportunities through the Games for Change Festival. But it's not as if we track that as a measure of success. A lot of that just happens organically, and we're thrilled.
Did you know that the top 10 mobile games in the US grossed more than $340 million last month? If you want to earn more with your games, AppFigures has the tools you need to get more downloads and revenue. You may know AppFigures for analytics and App Store optimization, but now they can help you track competitors and the game market. We're talking downloads, how much money they're making, the audience demographics, and even which tools they use to power their games. Their competitor intelligence gives great context. If you have an idea for an app or a game, AppFigures can tell you how big the market is and how much money you could be making with it. Say a competitor adds a new feature or was was mentioned in the news, App Figures can tell you if that brought in more downloads, and that is just scratching the surface. Whether you're growing your game or building a new one, App Figures can help you reduce risk and get more downloads. You don't need a big budget or a data science degree. App Figures has made this affordable and simple. They have guides and tutorials to take you step by step through gaining more visibility with ASO and increasing your revenue by learning from your competitors. Head to appfigures.com/on/GameDevBreakdown to try App Figures for free, and if you like it, use our special code GDB3030 to get 30% off for the next 3 months. Big thanks to App Figures for sponsoring the show. Obviously, an awesome product of the festival is a lot of developers who they sort of have the odds stacked against them. If my take on the situation is correct, I mean, if you're doing games for a good cause, you don't necessarily have the highest level of opportunity in the industry, because that's just not how the business works. But how do you sort of determine who to feature each year? How many games are you able to bring in? Because that has to be very, I don't know if competitive is the right word, but there has to be a ton of interest in that.
I mean, there's only so many speaking slots that we can offer. And I can tell you that my team is always upset with me for over programming this festival, because there's so much good content and good projects coming in. And I really want to highlight as much as we can. So there are really 3 places that we currently are able to promote projects. One is our Games for Change award platform. So we have an awards program every year. It's a peer-reviewed process. Anyone can submit a game or an XR experience, as long as it's released within the time frame that are within our guidelines. And then we have a whole process of peer review of getting to finalists of that. And then at the festival, we showcase those games in our arcade. This year it's online, otherwise it'd be in person. And then we have an award ceremony, right? So that's a process that takes care of itself, right? And is open to any creator developer to participate in and see how they do. The second is another exhibition area, which is our immersive arcade. So we also, I think this year we have close to 30 XR experiences that we curate ourselves and offer opportunities for people to explore. Again, if it was in person, we have VR headsets and all over an exhibition floor. This year, it's all being offered online, and a lot of it can be accessed through the Oculus store. TV store. And then the third piece is our curation, right? The talks and the panels and the workshops and all of that we offer. And that too is an open submission process. And then we have curators who are reviewing what comes in and then also doing their own solicitation and creative programming. And man, it's hard. It's hard to choose what to pick. And that's why, we are trying to focus on new voices, on diverse voices, on topics that often aren't covered in other events. I mean, our sessions aren't always focused on a project or a game. It might be a conversation on DEI issues, or a conversation on research methods, on how to assess assessment. So it's a combination of great projects, that are perhaps, let's say, more high profile, right? Like understanding how Ubisoft is creating educational versions of Assassin's Creed. That might draw attention because it's Assassin's Creed and it's a popular title, and somebody may not know that actually there's an education version of that. But there's a movement in Nigeria on BIPOC creators, and we want to help support their efforts and draw attention to the amazing work they're doing there. Right. So it's always a balance like that.
That makes good sense. And I would love to hear about what parents can hope to take away from the festival this year.
Well, it's interesting. Parents typically, like as a demographic, are not people who we market towards the event. Yes, a lot of industry people are parents. So like I'm a parent, but our marketing and our community is, usually there because they're working in the space or they want it, they're coming up from a professional standpoint. However, with an initiative that we launched just last year called Raising Good Gamers, we are creating some programming that we believe has a lot of interest to parents, regardless of whether they are working in or around the games industry. Mm-hmm. And it is of interest to, as we moved from just focusing as an organization of advocating for the use of games and building this community of practice, there is more of an opportunity now to have more of a public-facing conversation with people about the role of games, particularly coming out of the pandemic, right? The fact that people are looking at games a little differently, and parents have seen their kids play Minecraft because it's the only, all day, because it's the only way they get to play with their friends, because they can't see their friends because everyone's, in lockdown. So this is like a unique opportunity right now to draw attention to that positive role that games have played in kids' lives and address the parents and making sure they understand that that games can play that can continue to play a positive role. But there are also other issues around games that we want to address that parents have been concerned of, like toxicity and bullying and all their kids safe online. And so through Raising Good Gamers, we now have a initiative that is drawing attention to creating safe online play spaces for young people and in gaming environments. And there are about 4 or 5 sessions at the festival that I think will be particularly of interest to parents, so they can better understand what's happening with their kids, because it first has to start with understanding. So Katie Salen, who is a professor at UC Irvine in California, is our partner on Raising Good Gamers, and she is giving a keynote talk about what we get wrong about kids behaving badly online. She's a researcher, an expert on this subject. We're also, she'll be speaking about that. We also have sessions where young people, 7th graders, are going to have an opportunity to talk directly to developers of their favorite games, of Roblox and Minecraft. We have a session on inclusivity and safe spaces for kids by people who are working in the space, within the space, researchers and policy and safety experts, community experts. So there are a lot of really interesting sessions, I think, for parents to get a better handle on what their kids are experiencing online and how they can support them.
And it seems like part of the strategy inherently here is that catching gamers on the way into what they do as when they're young and when they're first getting a hold of this technology, I mean, sort of creates a more educated player base that grows up to be, adults who are around this and who will, of course, raise their own children. And maybe we address a lot of the toxicity issue across games at once. That makes a lot of sense to me, right?
Yeah, that absolutely is our approach. Toxicity and harassment online it's an issue. It's an issue in social media. It's an issue in games, and there are many ways that the industry is trying to address it. What we're focusing on, where we believe we can have a long-term systemic impact, is to focus on the younger generation and help them develop the skills to be more pro-social gamers, but also help from the industry side and the support side, support them in their experiences at this very impressionable young age that can then they take with them as they grow into the next, continue to be the generation of gamers as they move through their lives.
So as we sort of draw to a close, this is a pretty focused audience of developers, designers, people in the creative roles. So what can they look for in the festival? What should they go in expecting, and what should they be sure not to miss?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think it'd be wonderful for the audience to participate and watch our Games to Change Awards. You will be inspired and impressed with the amazing games that are coming through that program. We have an amazing host, Sugar Gamers, Keisha Howards. We have musical talent, Mega Ran. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's also going to be a really interesting announcement that we're making. a great partnership with Cartoon Network that will talk about some of our work and working with reaching parents and kids around raising good gamers. So that's a session that I think will be exciting on Monday. It's also at the same time right after Katie Salen's speech about what we get wrong about kids behaving badly online. So I think that'll be a great session to attend to. Gosh, it's so hard for me to pick like one or two things to see. Yeah, all of the Raising Good Gamer sessions are going to be fantastic. There's also very inspiring talks from people who work at the World Bank, who work at the UN, that work in countries that you might not hear from, like Ukraine. There are game developers and researchers all over the world making great games that are driving significant impact.
Awesome. So, and I'll look through and try to include any good highlights in show notes. As we sort of leave off, let people know URLs they can check out, any social media accounts they should look at, anything you'd like to sort of plug.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to gamesforchange.org and you will see right there links to how to join our festival. It is free. Again, you do need to register, so you should get on that now. It'll start on Monday. I think 9 a.m. is the beginning of the festival, Eastern. It'll run for 3 days. We also are on Facebook and on Twitter. I don't know our handles, so we'll have to have those be in the footnotes. But we have presence in all the socials, and and then we have our YouTube channel. So if anyone's interested in checking out that it can't come to the festival but want to check out the content afterwards, you can go check out our YouTube channel, where we also house all of our past year content as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, Susanna, thank you, and congrats on the festival's success so far. And here's hoping for a great one here in 2021.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoy the Game Dev Breakdown podcast, I would love if you would subscribe on the podcast platform of your choosing. We have show notes available at codewriteplay.com. My book, Inside Video Game Creation, is available now at Amazon in ebook, paperback, and hardcover formats. We are available on Twitter at GameDevPod, at CodeWritePlay, and me, Todd Mitchell, at MechaTodzilla with 1D and 2 L's. Love to hear from you about feedback, topics, anything that's on your mind. Please don't hesitate. Get out there and do something you're proud of this week, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.